Welcome everyone to After the Dragon, presented by Mayhem Media, JDEDESIGNz, and the Boiling Point podcast. I am your host, JD, alongside my co-host for this, Mizpah. Mizpah, welcome to the After the Dragon. This is episode 3. It was certainly a good episode, and we're going to talk about a number of different things, and we may even get the breeze in a little bit later as well. Please leave us a comment on anything we say or your opinions on the show, your favorite character. Leave us any comment you'd like. Please share out the episodes. You can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Mayhem Media. And you can search Mayhem Media on YouTube and Rumble. We're also on both of those as well. Mizpah, episode 3.
I thought it was a good episode. There was a lot of stuff that happened that if you weren't paying close attention, I'm sure you're going to have missed a couple of things.
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought it was a little slower than most episodes. I think, or not slower. It seems to me, my concern after watching this episode is that it just seems like they're trying too hard. The battle and stuff at the end, which we're going to talk about, it just seemed like it didn't feel like a full episode on this one. This was the first one that I wasn't satisfied at the end of it. I wanted a little bit more out of it. But you're right. There was a lot of small stuff, a lot of little stuff, and there was, again, more storytelling and laying a base there. So let's start off with the time jump. That's how the episode starts. A time jump, 2 years.
Yeah, it's a little over 2 years, I think, because the king has a son, and it looked like the queen, the new queen, had another one that's about to come any day.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, actually. I believe it is a little bit more than 2 years because she wasn't pregnant in the last episode. So that must have happened. And then she, 9 months. And then it was 2 years. The reason I got caught up with the 2 years is because they were celebrating his son's second name day. So that's where I was at with the 2 years. But you're right. It's likely a little closer to 3 years. The time jump. So you're right. It's likely a little closer to 3 years. How about this show? I mean, this show is helping us keep track.
It didn't. I was interested in the fact that it didn't show a wedding or anything like that.
Yeah, I think they're going to be skipping over some stuff, just like the other one did from time to time. I think that episode would have been predictable. Rhaenyra unhappy, and the king and the new queen, her being nervous. I think that would have been a predictable episode. I think that's why we didn't actually see it. I think it would have been a little too predictable.
Okay.
I mean, think about the Game of Thrones weddings. We almost never saw a regular wedding. If we were looking at a wedding, we knew something had to be wrong. We learned that in season 1. Season 1, we learned that with the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but that might have been season 2. I apologize. That might have been season 2, actually. It was season 2, I think.
Yeah, but the Red Wedding, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first wedding we really saw in the Game of Thrones, and that taught us that if we're watching a wedding, something very bad is going to happen.
But I thought you'd think there would have been at least a reference to the fact that they're married.
What do you mean?
Like just a little bit more. We didn't necessarily need to see the wedding, but you'd think they would have solidified a little bit more that the wedding occurred.
Oh, I think the fact that babies are being born would solidify that. Well,
not necessarily.
True, but in this, with the king, yeah. With the king being celebrated on his name day, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much a given. If you're being celebrated by the royals, you are, of the family. So I think that's where that falls in.
That's true.
We got to see the hunt. We got to see the king go on a hunt. In Game of Thrones, we only get to hear about Robert Baratheon going on the hunt, and then we see the results of the boar. But this one, we actually get to see the hunt. I thought that was kind of cool too, unique to see how the king hunts. And may I just say, that he is just the epitome of what all hunting and all hunters should strive for. I mean, the skill it took to take down that stag in 2 shots.
You mean the stag that was being held by 2 ropes by the horns?
I believe it was held by 4 ropes. Actually, I believe it was more than that, because if you look closely in one of the scenes, because I was looking at this, because when I saw this, listen to me. When I'm watching this episode, and I know we got this after the dragon coming up, I said to myself, oh, we're so talking about this. And I made sure to look. Not only are there 4 ropes tied around the antlers, okay? So there's 4 people on horseback now, holding the antlers, okay? But if you look closely enough, in one scene, you can actually see that the legs are also tied to a rope as well. So this stag is not running or going anywhere, and it took him 2 shots to bring down this big, huge stag. And man, what a hunter it took.
I would like to point out that it really seemed like he didn't want to kill it. He really did not want to kill that stag.
And no, I don't think he did either. No, I don't think he did.
Very hesitant.
Yeah, he really was. Now, was it that because it wasn't the white stag, the great white stag? Was he disappointed because of that, or was it something else, do you think?
I actually was going to ask you that. Now, my opinion, I think there was a little bit of disappointment that it wasn't the white stag. I think maybe that disappointment was going through his mind, plus the fact that, everybody was saying about the white stag being, a sign from the gods and everything. All that was running through his mind, plus the fact that he was hungover and having a little bit of a mental breakdown during this whole thing, arguing with Rhaenyra, and everything was just kind of a complete and total shit show up to this point, as far as the king's personal life is going on. And then it's not the white stag. But I think there was also a part of him that felt like, there was no sport in it. Like it was wrong.
That's interesting.
That he was just walking over and just stabbing this thing in the neck. Like,
you think that's what it was? Because to me, it almost looked like fear. I get that at the initial, when he first cuts to him, he sees it's not the white stag. I think you can clearly see he's disappointed at that moment. But then as he moves closer to it, and I think you're right about the way he feels the emotions. I just disagree with you about the end, I think. I think when he's walking towards the stag, you see everything that you described. I think you see right away, you see the disappointment that it's not the white stag. And as he gets closer, he's, all this stuff, you know what I mean? It's almost like you can hear the voices, right behind him of everybody nagging him about his daughter and this and that. And the white stag. And then, but as he gets closer to it and he realizes, well, no, I'm still gonna, it's still a deer, I'm still hunting. But then as he gets closer to it, it looks more like fear to me. That's what I got from it. I don't know if I agree with you that there was no sport. I think it was that he was afraid, honestly. To me, it looked like fear.
Okay. Do you think it was fear of the animal, or was it fear of failing to perform his duties the way everybody thought he should?
I think it was a little bit of everything. And I think the fact that after the first time he stabbed it and he had to stab it again, I think that made it even 10 times worse. I think it transitioned from fear of, and maybe you were right, maybe some of it stemmed from, maybe it was a fear of killing an animal that's completely tied up. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what the fear came from just killing an animal that's, you know what I mean? Maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't see there was any sports in it, but maybe it was a fear that he felt though while he was also feeling that there was no sport, I think. And then when he missed or when he couldn't kill it with one, this thing's tied up. He can't kill it with one.
He had to be told where to stab it.
Yeah. I think that put a different kind of fear in him too. I think that almost made it twice as bad. I think it was everything. I think the fact that it wasn't a white stag, he's being hounded by his daughter needs to marry and this and that, and he wants to run his kingdoms his way. He's tired of being told what to do and tired of being advised. He just wants to do what he wants to do, and I can understand that. And in fact, little side note, he did in fact just let his daughter, he said, marry whoever you want, but you have to marry. Okay, so he's, I think that some of that's weighing on him, just that he knows that if she's to be the heir, then she's going to have responsibilities and do things that she doesn't want to do. So the very least he can do is one of the last free things that she'll get to do is choose who she stays with for the rest of her life, who she marries and reproduces with. I think that was his last. I think that's his gift, was a gift to her. Because as they were talking about it, because it seems like Rhaenyra is not following some of her responsibilities. Based on the conversations between her and her father, she's not been doing some of her responsibilities because she thinks she's going to be passed over now that he has a son. But he's made it pretty clear a couple of times in this episode, at least once or two or three times in this episode we just watched, that she is to be the heir. She is to be the queen. And I think that was a gift to her, to let her. That's one last thing. This is going to be the last thing. He didn't say that, but I think that's what he was thinking. This will be the very last thing you ever get to decide in your entire life on your own. I'm going to give this to you. You choose who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Apparently, he said he got to, even though it was an arranged marriage. Maybe he went. Maybe the King Viserys went around to everybody who wanted to marry him and chose the one he wanted, perhaps. But either way, he claims he got to choose who he loved and to marry, and he wants the same for her. I think that's because it'll be the last thing she gets to decide on her own. He's advised and hounded and on every decision he makes regarding the kingdoms and even his own personal life, even his son's name day plans, and he's advised on everything now. He doesn't get to decide anything for himself anymore, and I think that's part of it. I think that's why the throne cuts him. I think that's why this chair cuts him. I don't think he has the backbone to be the king.
Council.
Yeah, to say, okay, that's enough. I've made a decision now. I've heard enough counsel. I don't need to hear your opinion. He's always soliciting advice. Every time someone else comes up to him, if he's not being, go ahead.
It's like he's afraid to make the wrong decision.
Yeah. Even when he makes a decision, he runs it by how many people first. He's either asking for advice or being advised. And what's crazy is when he's being advised, he's so tired of being advised. But then when he wants to make a decision, he can't make a decision without being advised, or at least without consulting his advisors. So, yeah, I think that's why it cuts him. I think he's indecisive. I don't think he knows how to make decisions anymore.
I don't know if it's so much that he doesn't know how to make decisions anymore.
You think?
I think it's straight up fear. Because he's had so many people tell him, no, you should do this. And he's got people in his other ear, no, you should do this. And he's got other people in, just, no, this is how it needs to be. No, this is how it needs to be. That there's so many different opinions. And, well, let's face it, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one.
Yes, but a good leader has to.
He doesn't know anymore what the right way to go is.
Yeah, I don't think that's as a result of being advised. I think that's a result. I think that's who he is.
And that very well may be.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that's who he is. I don't think he can make decisions I don't know if he's ever been able to make decisions. Now we haven't, we didn't see his early reign stuff. It was we've jumped many years. It was 100 and some years before the birth of Daenerys, and then it jumped like 10 or 20 years or something like that. We've had a couple of time jumps now. We'll put that together in the next episode. We'll start keeping track of actually how many years it is and what year it is and how close to Daenerys' birth it is. Also, but I want to say about King Viserys before we move on to something else. He's also a dreamer, apparently. He said he had a dream of his son becoming the king. And we know how much he believes in prophecy dreaming, because he carries the dagger that Aegon the Conqueror carried, claiming about the dream of the, which we know happens in the Game of Thrones, but they don't know that at this point. They don't know when it's going to happen. I think that with his dreaming and prophecy and all that stuff, I think so much of that is weighing on him too. I think, in fact, now that we've just talked this out, I think that's almost what it is more than anything else. I think he's afraid to make a decision himself for messing up his own prophecy. I think because now look, the one decision he did made, he made his daughter his heir. That is one decision he made. Okay, over the objections of even all of his counsel. All of his counsel even advised him, no, you have to leave Daemon as the heir. You have to remarry. You'll have other sons, but Daemon has to stay your heir. He went against them, named his daughter his heir, and now that one decision, he finally made a decision, and
now he's questioning if it was wrong.
Yeah, because of his dream. He had a dream that it was going to be his son, and he's named his daughter an heir. Now he's had another son, and potentially another one yet on the way. I think it's everything. I think it's the advisors. I think it's his own dreams of prophecy.
I think you might be on to something there, because look at the scene at the bonfire with him and the queen. I can't remember her name. Hightower.
Oh, the queen who never was.
No.
Oh, no. Lord Hightower, the Hand of the King.
Yeah, what's
Lord Otto Hightower, or you mean his daughter?
What's his daughter's name?
Alicent.
Alicent, that's what it is.
Yeah, Alicent Hightower.
Queen Alicent came up to him at the bonfire, and that's when he professed, that he was worried he made a mistake naming his daughter the heir, and because he no longer believed. He no longer believed the dream. Yeah.
And then he made a decision, and now he's had a son, potentially another one on the way. It's I think it's everything. I think it's the advisors, the prophecy. It's a lot of that stuff that's weighing on him. But I think that's part of his indecision, though. I think that he, even a good ruler, even a good king, you still have to make a decision. Even in combat,
listen, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah. Even when you talk to soldiers who are in combat, you got to make a decision, left or right. Fine, but you have to pick left or right. You have to make a decision, even if it's the wrong decision. What you can't be crippled by is indecision. Indecision will be the end of you. Making a wrong decision can potentially be overcome, but indecision will kill you and cripple you. That's what I think is going on there. Let's talk about now. We've been talking for 20 minutes already. So let's talk about Daemon. Let's talk about Daemon Targaryen and him taking care of the crabbers. What do you?
Well, so my initial reaction was he did not want help from the king, his brother, because of the fact that he knew that all of the glory and all of the recognition would go to the king. And I think that pissed him off.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right on that. I think, but this is what and I'm glad you said that too, because this is my concern. He was concerned about his king coming to steal his glory, I believe. Coming in, saving the day, swooping in, saving the day. They had been fighting a war for 2 years. We know at least they were fighting for 2 years. And they weren't able to, they weren't able to finish it. They had their number. And you can't send a dragon with every time you send a ship. So yeah, I do believe that it was his brother coming, sent him to like a place where he made a decision. You know what I mean? Where he said, no, he's not going to steal my glory. My concern is he didn't come up with this idea for 2 years. He didn't come up with this idea until his brother was going to come and steal his glory. That's what concerns me more than anything. That all of a sudden his brother is going to steal his glory, and now, because of that, he comes up with this crazy idea. Certainly a crazy idea for a royal family member to be out there on the field of battle alone with archers and all the people. But he came up with this idea and didn't want to execute it until his brother was going to come and steal his glory. That to me, I find concerning in as far as Daemon is concerned.
I don't think it was an idea he had just come up with. I think it's something he may have already had in the back of his head, but he just didn't have enough of a reason to execute it. I think it was more of a last ditch effort to get it done with right away.
Yeah.
Than it was.
See, I don't know though, because his troops obviously were starting to, his commanders at least were obviously starting to wonder whether or not this war was ever going to end and if they could even win or not. And then he decides to make that decision. His generals are questioning him. He gets a word from his brother. That's what concerns me, though. It's the fact that he was backed into a corner. And yes, he did something noble. He chose himself to be the one out there. Okay, and that's a good decision. But what's concerning to me is that he waited to do this until he was backed into the corner. His captains are against him. His brother's coming to steal his glory. I think that's what's concerning to me about it, is that I think he's more concerned with glory than he is with what he's actually supposed to be doing for the good of his people. I think he's more concerned about glory than his people. It appears that he's concerned about his people.
At this point, I would say it appears that way.
It's similar to Daenerys. That's why everybody was so shocked. Oh, Daenerys turned. They made her crazy. Why did they just change her? No, they actually didn't just do that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was a progression that if you actually look at objectively, you can clearly see her slip into madness. You can clearly see it. It's not just a decision that she makes. You can clearly see it from even season 1. You can clearly see her start moving in that direction. And that's what I'm saying. And even then, she was the martyr. You know what I mean? She stepped into the fire for the dragon eggs. She was the one who rode the dragon into battle. She was the martyr, just like Daemon. But eventually they'll put someone else in that role. They'll sacrifice other people. And that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm seeing the beginnings of. That's what I think I see with Daemon.
Okay. Did you?
Are we going to hear from the Breeze?
I believe the Breeze has an opinion.
Could it have been something along the lines of, well, what's my big rush to get rid of this crab killer guy? Because, hey, it's giving my brother what he wants. It's keeping me out of his hair. I'm not stuck in, where was he staying at? It was awarded to him.
Well, it wasn't awarded
not
to
awarded to him, that he took over, I should say.
So the Breeze thinks maybe it was more, he didn't feel that there was a rush to complete this battle and get it over with, because it gave him something to do. He was out of his brother's hair. He wasn't having to attend to courtly duties.
And he got his aggression out.
He was able to get out his aggression.
The issue with that is that he teamed up, the Valyrian family teamed up with him to help them with his shipping lanes. I mean, the Valyrians rely on shipping. Without the shipping, they would likely collapse. So what the Breeze is saying, I actually find to be more concerning, because if that's the case, if he's not willing to end the war because of his alliances because his own ally needs it to be finished for his purposes. That to me is just as concerning as what I think about why he decided to do it at the end in the first place. He's playing games then in that case. He's playing games. He has no. Oh, so is that the Breeze's point? She's saying that he's playing. Oh, okay. So then she's kind of agrees with me that he's playing these games now. That he's just playing these games. Okay. So he's not necessarily concerned with the people. Go ahead.
Going off of that opinion, I think it's just a matter of feeding his own arrogance.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Like I said, his own glory. Yeah, his own glory. And I think that's dangerous. I think that's dangerous too. So it looks like most of the Targaryens in our current world are crazy in some way or fashion at this point, except for maybe Rhaenyra. I think the queen that ever was, I think there's something off with her too, actually, I think. Any favorite characters, or did you have any other points you wanted to make? I'm not prepared to decide a favorite character yet. I'm not prepared for that yet either.
I'm not there yet either. I will tell you, I definitely do not like the Hand.
Yeah, Otto Hightower.
I do not like Otto. Otto is all about himself and his family.
Yeah.
He does not have the king's interest whatsoever.
No. He reminds me of a Tywin Lannister, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. However, I also still stand by my belief that Alicent,
the queen,
who is currently the queen, and it comes across as if she is kind of doing her father's bidding a little bit. I still think she has her own game she's playing. And I think we're going to probably see that here soon.
Interesting.
Because I think it's going to come to a point where you're starting to see her opinion seems to be disagreeing with what her father wants her to do.
Absolutely. Her father obviously wants her son, who is a relation to him, to sit on the Iron Throne. The Hightowers would then be at the throne, really. I mean, he would be a Targaryen, but it's a Hightower too. So they would be at the top of the throne there. And I think you're right. I don't think Alicent holds out much longer for her friend. I think she's, for 2 years, it looks like if what we've seen in this episode is what we could have generally been seeing for the last 2 years, where the queen has been trying to make amends with her friend, and being rebuffed repeatedly by her friend, then I think she's going to stop doing that. I think she's eventually going to stop trying to reach out to Rhaenyra to be her friend. And I think she's going to start looking out for her own interests. And I think she'll start looking out for her own children more than her at some point. I do agree with you there.
Yeah, well, and the question is, did she ever genuinely want Rhaenyra to be her friend?
I think before all of that, I think they were friends. Yeah, I think they were friends.
Yeah, but was it out of
because of her father, maybe, is what you're saying.
Were they friends? Was it all honest and good, or did she do that because she saw the strength in Rhaenyra and wanted to be involved in being close to the royal family?
Well, I mean, I'll give you some evidence to support your theory there. The fact that Alicent Hightower would bite her nails. I mean, so much that her fingertips were all red and bloodied and stuff. So, and now she doesn't do that anymore. So you have to wonder why that is too. She's obviously her character has grown. She's obviously a different kind of person. She's not this nervous little girl anymore. She's the queen. She's obviously gotten some of that confidence. And I think that's going to change her too. I think you're right. I think it shifts her away at some point from her father. Well, I think the only reason that her and her father are butting heads right now is because she's trying to stay loyal to Rhaenyra. I think eventually that stops, even if for no other reason than Rhaenyra has rejected and rebuffed all of her attempts to make amends. I think eventually Alicent will just stop and look out for herself and her children. And I think that's where we're headed with that.
And see, where I disagree. I don't think she was ever loyal to Rhaenyra. I think that was just part of her game.
But after 2 years, 2 years though, she could be playing the long game, perhaps. But yeah, I think you're right though. I think she's running her own games, and right now, the game she's running is not aligned with what her father wants. But I think at some point in time, those two things are going to align. I do think Alicent and her father will eventually want the same thing. Her son on the throne. You don't think Alicent Hightower is going to shift her allegiance from Rhaenyra to her son?
No, well, okay. I think she's going to want her son to be on the throne, but only after she's had her turn at being queen.
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't know. That's not how it works. That would only work. Listen, even if he named.
I never said it was a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she's smarter than that. I think she's playing a longer game, actually. I think I agree with what you had said on the last episode, that she's playing the super long game, that she's doing what she needs to do to put herself in a position so that she can execute her game. I think, again, I don't like drawing comparisons. I don't want to keep doing that, so let's not even do it. I'm not going to draw a comparison. But I do think that she's playing her own game, and I think at some point she's going to be where she wants to be to execute it. I don't know if her allegiance to Rhaenyra is false or not, but I think even if it's not, it's soon over. Even if it's not false, it's soon over anyway. Even if it's genuine.
Yeah.
So. Any other things? Like I said, I don't have a favorite character. I'm not prepared for that. You said that. Breeze is probably not have a favorite character yet.
No, not yet.
I do.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Rhaenyra has the freedom to.
I like characters. There's characters that I like, but I don't like. I don't have one that I'm going to choose as my favorite or pick as my favorite. Mizpah is obviously. Well, go ahead.
The new knight that she appointed.
Sir. I can't remember his name.
Kristen.
Sir Kristen. Yeah, Sir Kristen. I can't remember his last name though. I'll have to check out his family name then at some point. But
now that she has Rhaenyra,
yeah,
has the ability to marry whoever she wants. Do you possibly see something happening between the two of them?
Absolutely. I think that's going to be for sure. Yeah, I do think that.
And the next question I have is, how long do you see Sir Kristen dude staying around?
Oh, I don't know how long he's going to make it in the show.
He's too nice and too noble.
Yeah, he's gonna die. Oh, he's gonna die. Yeah, I don't even know that they'll ever get married. Yeah. I don't foresee them getting married. I could see them having a romantic interest and relation. The start of a relationship. But no, he definitely dies before they ever get married, for sure. She never marries him.
And then the question is, if that happens, is she pregnant?
Oh, I don't know. That'd be interesting. Certainly. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah. And I'm going to try and avoid any more Game of Thrones stuff until we get to, because I don't want to, ruin thing or get too far ahead or start spoiling anything on the series, except for the episode that was just on. If you haven't seen the most recent episode, you shouldn't be watching this right now. If you're still watching, then.
Yeah, I guess we should have said spoiler alert.
At this point, this is the third episode.
The name of the episode is After the Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the name of the show is After the Dragon. If you don't know what that means, then you've been living under a rock, or you just don't like Game of Thrones, which is also fine. But I don't know why you'd be watching it 35 minutes in. So I think that's about it for this episode. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about or cover in this episode. If we forgot something, please leave us a comment. We can't always remember everything, as smart as Mizpah and I are. I'm the smarter one, by the way. So leave us a comment if we missed anything, if there's something that you would like us to talk about or something that you would like us to bring up, or give us a question. Maybe we can try and answer it for you. Leave us a comment, share out the episode. That'd help us a lot. We want to reach more people. We want to grow this podcast. So please do that. Share out the episode. Leave us a comment. And something, Mizpah?
I was going to say, I would strongly encourage people to ask us our opinion on things. Point something else out and ask us what we thought about it. Maybe it'll become a topic on the next episode.
Yeah, and because we might not have seen something that you've seen, or maybe we have a different opinion. Bring up something that maybe we didn't think about. So leave us a comment. We want some feedback. We want some comments so that we can discuss them on future episodes. Please check us out. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Just search Mayhem Media, and you can find us storefront bonfire.com/store/JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z at the end of it, and all in lowercase. And our sister show, the Boiling Point Podcast. You can check them out. They're also on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, and you can check out their storefront at bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Mayhem Prez. And if you would like to send us an email instead of just leaving us a comment, you can send me an email at jdboilingpoint@gmail.com. The Breeze is off screen, as she always is. Thank you for joining us, The Breeze.
Absolutely.
Mizpah, my co-host, and we will be back next week. I'm your host, JD. That's the end.
Good night.